Welcome to On the Way video series, a time where we meet you, the busy women of today, with relevant, encouraging, biblical insights, addressing real issues, offering real hope. So whatever you're doing today or wherever you're going, be encouraged on the way.
Hi, I'm Joyce from Global Girls for God Ministries. Welcome to On the Way again. Last week was our first video. We said to you that we were real women with real issues, offering real hope. And I realized that there's a problem with being a real woman with real issues. You got to admit to yourself and others that you don't have it all together, that you have issues, and you are struggling through life sometimes, just muddling on by. But God is so gracious, and He offers us real hope. He offers it through His Word, but He also offers it through women who come into our paths who are a little further down and can encourage us. Or maybe it's a letter from a friend, but in some way God does offer us real hope when we lay our issues out before Him. This week we're talking about margin in the midst of mayhem. It's November 5, and the holiday season is approaching very quickly. I'm excited. I mean, I've seen glimpses of it in September. The Christmas trees were coming out, and I love this time of the year. The lights and the presents and the family gathering and the good food and all of it. It's exciting. But it also can create tension and chaos in my mind sometimes when I listen to all the advertisements on TV, and I watch the commercials, and I go to the store, and it's kind of overwhelming at times, and before you know it, I'm kind of like losing my mind. I'm kind of losing direction. I'm getting kind of confused, and I tend to get a little testy and crabby. And so I've realized over the years that I need to take some space. I need to create margin this time of the year. I need to intentionally take some time and breathe. Margin is written, the definition in the dictionary is that it's that part of a page or sheet outside the main body of printed or written material. So the margin on a page, so where you can write notes and things like that. So I decided I wanted to write something to show you what it's like without margin. And well, first of all, the computer doesn't like it that you want to have no margins, and then it has its own little default system. And so I just wrote my thoughts down, and that's how it came up. It's kind of like, I don't know if you'd want to read it. I don't even want to read it, but I put it out there, and I just talked about, margins, and that it's a good illustration, but I found that my fingers couldn't type as fast as my mind was working, and that I was making all kinds of errors, and then I really didn't care anymore. And it said this: I started to make more and more spelling errors, and I started not to care because at least I was getting the paper written to you to express how a paper looks without margin. It honestly looks chaotic and confusing. I cannot determine where one sentence begins or ends, or one idea begins or ends, and then I wonder if this is really worth it, or if it's a waste of time, and then I realize I can't read what I'm writing anyways, and how hard would it be for you? That's what I wrote, all up here, but I doubt you would want to read that, because there's no margin, there's no space, no pausing. I looked up mayhem, and I was a little surprised at that definition. It says it's a willful and permanent removal of a bodily member resulting in the impairment of a person's fighting ability. I thought mayhem was more like chaos or confusion, and it is. You can use those two words for mayhem. But then I thought, sometimes it feels that way, doesn't it, this time of the year? We are actually losing a little bit of ourselves, our mind. We don't know where to stop or where to begin. On top of just the normal activities of a woman's life, raising kids, grocery shopping, work, school, whatever it may be, now we're adding on other tasks. And we have the expectations in the world of what this season should be like, and we have the expectations inside ourselves. And before you know it, they get so tumbled up, we can't even think straight. And we just start going through the motions with no breathing room. And we begin not even liking this time of the year, or even liking ourselves. And so margin, breathing room, space, has to be incorporated into our life. I truly believe it to be true, but it's a choice, and it's a hard choice to make. But I believe we need to know that margin is important. And why it's important is this, is that over time I've met with many women, and I have found that there is this internal desire this time of the year to maintain peace, to maintain an ability to think through things. We want to. We want this time to be joyous. We don't want to be crazy women. We want to be, to give that smile out to our children, to hug our husbands with love, to make that meal for our neighbor. We want to. It's in us to give this time of the year because, in all honesty, it is about Jesus, and as believers, we know that. And so there's that desire within us. So margin allows for that desire to actually be able to come out. It gives us space to maintain peace and allow a joyous spirit to start to come out. Putting margin into our life is also important, I believe, because it allows us to take care of ourselves. I know as a busy young mom, I have 4 children under the age of 6, and you're just busy. But you need rest, and you need to take care of yourself. Because like they say, when mama's happy, nobody's happy. So you do need to take care of yourself. It is not selfish to take time to refresh your body, your soul, and your mind. Margin allows for you to do that. It's important. Margin also allows us to have some spontaneity. You know, that you've carved a little free time out of your schedule, not to give in to the demands. And it allows you to call that friend you've been wanting to call for so long, or make that meal for that grandparent that is lonely. That's what margin does. It allows you to do that. But margin also allows us to focus on God. If we put it in our life, we can sit before Him and say, you know what, be still, and I'm going to know that you are God, that you are good, and that you have got it. And He meets you right where you are. So, margin in the midst of mayhem. It's possible. It might be difficult. It's a choice. Next week we're going to talk about how to do that, how to implement margin into your life. What choices do you have to make? Hope you come back. Hope you can review this if it's kind of tugging on your heart that you kind of want this in your life. Come back, write us a little comment. But I want to leave you with this passage it's about the life of Elijah in 1 Kings 18 and 19. It talks about him that he was physically, spiritually, and emotionally exhausted. And he runs away into a cave. And God meets him there, but he's not in the earthquake. God's not in the fire. God is in that sweet, gentle voice. And as Elijah goes out and wraps himself in a cloak, he stands before God, and God says to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And Elijah pours out his soul before God. And God, as gracious and wonderfully does, responds and gives Elijah all that he needs. Child, He wants to do the same for you. He wants to meet you right where you are. So this week, in the midst of the mayhem, just take a breath and know that He's God, that He is good, and that He loves you. Be encouraged on the way.